Hello, Saubona, aloha, bonjour, ni hao, hola, konnichiwa. This is Tadia Rice with you today on Womenosity for Women with Curiosity. I love to learn different languages so I can say hello wherever I might be or whomever I might meet. And that's why I say hello in these different languages. Now, those are only 7 of the ways to say hello, but I'm going to keep going and I'm going to be learning more. Why? Because I'm curious like you. Curiosity is a motivator for learning. It's for decision making. It's crucial for a healthy development. I am so happy to have Malina with me today. Welcome, Malina, to Womenosity for Women with Curiosity.
Aloha mai. Thank you so much. Mahalo nui for inviting me here. I am just really humbled to be here today. Mahalo nui.
Oh, it is so good to have you, Malina. What I find so interesting is that your beautiful Hawaiian name has some pretty powerful meaning. Can you tell me what Malina means? And is it a fit for who you are?
Malina is my paternal grandmother's name. It was her mother's name, her mother's mother's name, and her mother's 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 name. So it's an honor to be named Malina. It means calm and soothing. And no, that is not me. I am not calm and soothing. And if my mother were alive today, she would cackle at that question. However, Hawaiians believe that we grow into our names. So I am fortunate that I have lived so long that I am learning to grow into my name. So there are times when I am calm and soothing, and I am so happy for the opportunity to sort of change my essence to my name.
That is so surprising because I have always seen you as calm and soothing. How interesting. I love the idea that we grow into our names and that our names are given to us with forethought and care. Curiosity is the desire to seek out new knowledge and learn how things work, to supply our brains with information that helps us understand our environment so we can make better choices. Did you know that our brains reward us for being curious? Researchers have determined that dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, is intricately linked to the brain's curiosity state. When you explore and satisfy your curiosity, your brain floods your body with dopamine, and that makes you feel happier. I want to know more about everything. I like being happy, especially when I meet remarkable women doing great things in our world and making it a better place to live. Just like my guest today, Malina Kaulukukui. She is a practitioner of Ho'oponopono. You've probably heard of it. It's a traditional family-based methodology. And we're going to talk about that, and you're going to learn what Ho'oponopono really is. I have had the pleasure to see her amazing work at the Hawaii Women's Prison, where she created a healing hula program that integrates cultural background with your practice in substance abuse treatment and trauma-informed care. We share a passion for the women who've been incarcerated in Hawaii, and I've watched how your hula program engages the women. Why did you decide to take your dance work in this direction, and when?
Well, Tadia, I've been dancing hula since I was 10 or 11. I've been a social worker all my life. And obviously, I've been a Native Hawaiian woman since the time I was born. So it was really important when I retired to pull them all together and stand in my truth as a Native Hawaiian woman who was a cultural practitioner and a social worker. Before I was retired, I worked at a women's rehabilitation program. It was a substance abusing program for pregnant and parenting women. And I saw how they struggled, and I saw how hopeful they were despite the struggle and despite the enormous trauma that they had experienced throughout their lives. And I also saw the healing opportunities when we were teaching hula. And I knew that when I retired, this was the population I wanted to work with, that I wanted to bring my skills as a kumu hula, a hula teacher, as well as my social work skills in behavioral mental health and bring them together. So a year after I retired, I went into the Women's Correctional Facility on Oahu, and it's been so satisfying.
Is there a translation for the word hula? And what is the dance meant to express?
Hula is the dance of Hawaii. And I want to say first and foremost that hula has at its base a spiritual foundation. So hula traditionally has been storytelling. You know, we were an oral culture. Hula was about storytelling. It told the stories of our natural elements because we honored our natural elements. And we honored our gods, and we honored our chiefs, and we honored the important people and the places that were important. So people wrote chants and stories and songs about all of these wonderful places that we live in. And for those of you who don't know, hula originally was just chants, and we call that aspect of hula kahiko, the old hula. And it wasn't until the missionaries came and Hawaiians learned about melody that we then put our compositions to melody, and then the guitar and the ukulele came to being. So there's two aspects of hula, kahiko, old, and awana, contemporary. But it talks about the history of our people, and it talks about how we really tap into something that is greater than ourselves. When we dance, we are one with the elements. When we dance, we are one with our chiefs, if that's what the song is about. If the song is about a place, we put ourselves there and we dance about the place. We have to have a belief that there is something greater than ourselves and that we're just the conduit to telling these stories, and that we have to stand in our own truths in order to tell the stories. And I think that's one of the things that the women in prison learn, is to separate out their painful selves and bring their hopeful selves to the hula experience. And I can see how that is both inspiring and healing for them.
Indeed. Do the women tell their own stories as they dance?
Absolutely. My kuleana, my responsibility, is to talk about the story of the hula that they're dancing and then invite them. I basically say, who knows something about this story? Often I choose chants that has some relevance to, say, power and control, to loyalty, to maybe misplaced loyalty, to grief. And whatever the song we're dancing about, I always ask the question, who knows something about this story and who wants to share that story? And I invite them to dance this story, putting themselves in that story. And what are you learning in dancing about this story? And what are you learning that can be helpful to you in your personal lives? And how can you share your own story as a healing journey? Because as we all know, those of us who have worked in trauma settings, that the telling of your story is part of healing. And oftentimes our women in prison and women who have experienced trauma are so ashamed of their stories that they sit on it, they swallow it. But the healing journey is in telling that story and in trusting that there are people who are going to listen with great aloha, with great love.
That is wonderful. That is such an inspiration. And I'm sure they must feel that. Your responsibility as a hula teacher, a kumu hula, which is a master of the dance, what are your responsibilities that you must uphold to assure that the stories that you tell and the hula that is danced can work for everyone, whether it's women in prison, whether it's observers, or whether it's the dancer or you, the teacher yourself?
First of all, there's a halau. A halau is that physical space, a hula studio, a hula school, where the protocols of hula need to be respected. But my responsibility is to make sure that the halau, the hula school, is a safe place, that it's a safe place so that when people come to dance, they feel they trust me, they trust the process, they learn to trust their hula sisters, and trust is a big thing for women in the prison system. They don't trust other women. You know, these are the women who have slept with their husbands and partners. These are the mothers who have pimped them at age 7. They don't trust other women. These are women who have lied to them. So trust and trusting other women is a big journey. So coming to Halau, coming to the hula school is a big commitment for them. And when they stay, they are telling me something. They are telling me that I think I can trust this space. So trying to turn the dining room of a prison is my responsibility to make it safe. There are some practical protocols that take place when you first walk into that space. They need to know that. I need to be able to respect them as people, and to teach them to respect others. I listen to them, and they need to learn to listen to me. It's really interesting because the hula protocol says that when the teacher speaks, that's it. You know, that's it. They don't go, oh, come on, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't feel like it today. Do you know, I have never heard that. I have never heard that. When they walk into Halau, they say, okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay. And if somebody else says, I don't know if I want to do that, then it's the veteran hula dancers who go, you cannot talk to Kumu that way. You have to listen and respect her. So I know that it works.
There is tremendous discipline attached to dancing.
Absolutely. And that's hula. Even before I get to what does it mean to be a hula teacher, who then imparts what I know about how to hula. That's the how part, right? How to hula. How do I teach them to move their hands gracefully? That's the easy part of hula. You know, I have been taught how to teach hula, but the other aspects, I think, are equally important.
I'd like to share with my audience one of your favorite chants or songs that you use when you teach hula. Can you share that with us and tell us a little bit about it?
I will. One of our favorite chants, and this is kahiko, this is the old style of hula, is about our favorite family, Pele. Most of the people who have visited Hawaii know that Pele is our fire goddess, and she was a force to be reckoned with. She had a family that it was like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is the sex, drugs, and rock and roll epic tale of Hawaiian hula. Okay?
Oh my God, I've never heard it expressed like that.
And so just to give our audience what it means to have a Hawaiian chant. Okay, this is called No Luna Ikahalekai No Kama Aleva.
I no luna ikahalekai no kama aleva. No luna.
No luna ikahalekai no kama aleva. Anaka makayamu ananui karehuala. O ikekai o malikula. Ikua ela kalehua ela ilala. Eala eala ela ela ho.
He inoa no hi'iaka I ka polio pele.
Hi, I'm Onke Dumego, also known as Forever Onke. I absolutely love women radio, and my favorite show is definitely Tadia Rice's Womenosity. It is so inspirational, and I always get just the boost that I need in life to continue. We all need the type of content that can really push us to the max and really get us going through the next day. Fabulous station, fabulous show. I love it.
Hello, hi, muraho, mwaramutse, mumeze mute. My name is Hope Azeda. I'm an artist from Kigali, Rwanda. You are listening to Woman Radio. I am listening to. Welcome, murakaza neza.
This is Almaz Crow in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, listening to Woman Radio for great interviews and wonderful music. It's important that people come together, and Woman Radio does that, especially for women. Women, let's unite. We gotta take over this world. While I listen to Women Radio, and I hope you do too.
Welcome back, everyone. We are with the most wonderful and wise woman, Malina Kaulukukui, here in Hawaii, a remarkable teacher of the dance called hula, which is the Hawaiian ancient form of expression. And now we're going to talk about another very important and ancient tradition of Hawaii, ho'oponopono. You may have heard of it. It's become very popular around the world in the last few years. It's an indigenous Hawaiian practice. And some of the versions that have been sold in bookstores are not exactly authentic or accurate. So I want you to know that Malina is sharing with us very authentic ho'oponopono, the ancient Hawaiian tradition that serves a very specific purpose as a traditional family-based practice. And she is a practitioner of the real ho'oponopono. So, Malina, can you please explain the authentic ho'oponopono, its function and purpose?
Thank you. And thank you for saying what you did, because you're right. There's some confusion about what is ho'oponopono. And so I'm very clear, as you said, that I have been taught the traditional family-based ho'oponopono that is really the restoring of harmony within families. It is the setting to right when there are conflicts within families. Ho'oponopono means to make right. Ho'opono, to make right. Ho'oponopono, to really make right. And it was taught to my mentors by Mary Kawena Pukui, and she actually wrote the Hawaiian dictionary, and she is much beloved in our culture. And it is a very defined methodology to basically have the families come together and talk about the difficulties that they have been experiencing. And as in all cultural practices, there's a spiritual foundation. We open with a prayer. And when I say prayer, the prayer can be very non-denominational, and it could be a coming together to bring your best self to this discussion. It doesn't have to be religious. And part of ho'oponopono is making amends, asking for forgiveness when there have been transgressions. And in ho'oponopono, we recognize that there are entanglements. Just when you look at a fishing net, the fishing net are full of knots, and it tugs. You pull at a fishing net at the top, and it tugs at the bottom because everything is connected. So what we say is entanglements are all connected, and you have to untangle them one knot at a time. And making amends, asking for forgiveness, is a critical part of ho'oponopono. When you look at making an apology versus asking for forgiveness, making an apology is one-sided. I can say I am sorry to you. You don't have to accept it. But if I am asking you for forgiveness, it's a relational issue. And in Hawaiian culture, it's all about relationships. Yeah. And in Ho'oponopono, we're talking about relationships among people. So if I ask you to forgive me for a transgression that I have done towards you, you have to decide whether you're going to accept my forgiveness, which means we untangle that knot between us. Forgiveness is a relationship issue. Think long and hard about that.
It reminds me of what is restorative justice. Can you walk us through what a Ho'oponopono session might look and feel like?
We believe it's important for all of the affected family members to come together. And if there are children involved, they are part of it, which means that the adults in the family have to be really careful about what they say and how they say it. We always ask for them to bring some spiritual guide with them or some aspect of how they can remember to bring their best self forward. One of the differences in Ho'oponopono that's different than Western family therapy is that the family members only speak to the Ho'oponopono practitioner rather than to speak to each other. And that's to diffuse any strong feelings, because what happens when I say, this is what happened, and you say to me, that didn't happen, sister, you're lying. Well, if the person is only talking to me, we can deflect those bad feelings or difficult feelings. The only time that people talk to each other is when they're making amends. And then it's really important for them to talk to each other. So we ask people to speak with understanding. We ask people to listen for understanding. And each family member gets a chance to say something about how they saw that particular entanglement, including the kids. And oftentimes the kids have the most accurate and truthful view of what's happened because they speak their truth naturally truthful.
Yeah, and they're still innocent enough. They haven't been corrupted yet, by the world. So how does one know when it's time to actually have a Ho'oponopono session?
In my grandmother's time, there was always a bowl of poi, our Hawaiian staple. There was always a bowl of poi on the table. And that bowl of poi was covered when it was not in use. Oftentimes that covering of the poi had different meanings. That poi was so important to us and our mythology that when that poi bowl was uncovered, we could not speak ill of each other and other people, because in our culture, words could kill and words were healing. So if Grandpa covered that poi bowl and kept it covered, it meant something. It meant, oh my goodness, there were some bad feelings around because there were harsh words that were said in the kitchen. And that poi bowl, it could not be the recipient of any harsh words. That's part of our philosophy. It doesn't happen anymore today. We don't keep poi on the dining table. We keep it in the refrigerator. There's no poi anymore on the table that tells us whether or not it's okay to speak and whether or not, something's going on. Maybe we need Ho'oponopono.
There is symbolism and metaphor woven throughout Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian values, Hawaiian teachings, whether they're expressed in a song, in a chant, in a dance, however it is. It's quite amazing. One of your favorite songs, or mele, is a love song to your well-known teacher, one of the most recognized kumu hula around the world, Auntie Maiki Aiu Lake. Can you tell us a little bit about the song?
Hua Lili Lehua was a song written by Mary Kawena Pukui, this woman who wrote the Hawaiian dictionary, who was good friends with Kaho'anu Lake, was her go-to trio. We always danced with the Kaho'anu Lake trio, and he was so in love with her, and she just didn't even recognize that. So he went to his friend, Mary Kawena Pukui, and said, I want to write a song that tells how I feel about her. So the two of them wrote a song and presented it to her. there's that backstory of this budding relationship between a renowned hula master and a very important popular singer. When one is part of this hula genealogy, it is important to know the backstory of all songs. And if you have a backstory, then you can honor the song, the people involved, if there's a place, the place. And then the responsibility of the hula instructor, the kumu hula, is to be able to teach that song generation after generation in exactly the way that Auntie Mikey Ayu Lake choreographed it. And so between 1960 something and 2022, I would say that all of her hula instructors that she graduated and other hula instructors who graduated under her graduates, we all, after 50 plus years, dance that song in the same way. Why we do this motion? And they have to understand that, because their job, their responsibility, if they have the chance, is to pass down that song and the hula motions in exactly the same way, and that the backstories don't get lost. That's what hula is all about.
So we're going to listen to this beautiful mele, this song called Pua Lilile Hua. And what are they saying?
He's basically saying, hey, here I am. You just kind of go off and you're with so-and-so and you're with so-and-so. And here I am playing for you. And you don't even recognize that I care so deeply about you. I'm here. I'm here. I will always be here for you. So come into my heart and let's be together.
Oh, that's beautiful. And she did.
And she did.
Well, let's take a listen to this beautiful, beautiful song. Don't go anywhere, folks. We will be right back with the remarkable and amazing Kumu Malina. And we'll take a listen to this beautiful song, Pua Lilile Hua. It's fantastic. We have so much more to cover. We'll be right back.
Oh No man is an island. Ladies, let's open up and discuss issues, whether good or bad. Platforms are there. Woman Radio happens to be just one of them. I'm inviting you on the couch to further discuss areas of concern every Thursday from 10 a.m. South African time to 12 noon. On the couch with me, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, here on Woman Radio, well-organized man, for we are.
Meet me at the party on the couch.
Hi, I am Dr. Sia. Please catch me every Monday at 7 o'clock in the evening on Woman Radio, where I will be talking about breaking free from trauma, from everything that is holding you back from becoming the best version of yourself. Woman Radio, well-organized man, for we are.
Hi, everyone. This is Shireen Janti, Senior Director at Music Cares of the Recording Academy, otherwise known as the Grammys. I love this radio station. I love this talk. Woman Radio helps give women the voice they need, and I thank them for supporting women. I'm listening to Woman Radio, and I hope you are too.
Welcome back, everyone. We are with Kumu Malina Kaulukukui in Hawaii. She is a master of the dance called hula. She is a cultural expert. She is a social worker, and she is a generously wonderful and loving woman who goes into Hawaii's women's prison and helps the women heal through traditional practices of mele, song, and hula, dance. Now, you've written and spoken about the need for cultural training for medical students and family practice residents who are working in our hospitals and clinics. Why is that?
I have been part of cultural competency, what's called cultural competency training initiatives in the School of Social Work, as well as in the School of Medicine. And one of the things about training for medical students now is that the standards require training in cultural sensitivity, in cultural humility, in cultural competence. So for the last 19 or 20 years, I have been part of what is called the Cultural Competency Committee at the School of Medicine. And we do training for first-year medical students, as well as now for family practice residents, in how to be culturally resonant when dealing with patients. You know, the culture of medicine is so strong, and that structural hierarchy between doctors and patients is often a real hindrance to competent and holistic and respectful medical care. And so the School of Medicine in Hawaii takes their responsibility to train on cultural issues very, very seriously. So over the last 20 years, we have been able to be part of the education for medical students. And for the last 15 years, we have done what's called cultural immersion programming, where we take volunteers, medical students, out to a very rural place in West Oahu, and for 3 days immerse them in Hawaiian activities, Hawaiian principles, Hawaiian values, Hawaiian communities. And they come out of that experience with a much more humble view of A, culture, and B, their own responsibility in providing culturally resonant care. It matters.
It certainly does. And I'm sure that listeners around the world, especially in South Africa and other indigenous areas, and especially on our reservations of North America, those who are stepping into a cultural community but don't know anything about the culture are at such a disadvantage. Being able to learn cultural values, cultural expression, proper protocols, and every society has them, is really an asset to anyone, whether they're medical students, nurses. I don't care who you are, but if you're going to walk into an indigenous setting and you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to impose your understanding of reality, you will fail. It is just that simple. You will fail.
Absolutely.
So what you're doing is really important. So how do you find balance between the work that you do and also the obligations you have with your hula halau outside of the prison as well as inside of the prison, and a personal life, which I know is very important to you and a very busy one? How do you balance those things?
Well, if you asked my husband, he would say she doesn't. And there would be a certain amount of truth to that. However, my response is I am learning to stand, or I want to stand in my own truth as a Native Hawaiian woman who is also a cultural practitioner and a social worker. And so it all blends together. I am who I am. Having said that, yes, it's important for me to stop, take a breath, not get overextended. And I am still learning that. The other balance that's important in Hawaiian culture is that balance of ku and hina. Ku, the aggressive male, versus hina, the feminine. Hina means moon, reclining. And there's a big, big push for all of us who are Hawaiians to balance that ku and hina. For men, how do you then nurture your hina, your feminine side? For women, how do you nurture your ku side that you could be assertive? What does that mean? Even in hula, I talk about the balancing of ku and hina, particularly in domestic violence issues, and how can you safely protect yourself? How do you learn to develop more ku aspects about yourself? And I think that's the whole thing about being a woman, right? How do you balance that?
I think we all have to find that balance because everybody, male and female, has the ku and has the hina, the feminine and the masculine. And if you're too much of one or the other, well, it's not going to work very well and
That's
your
correct.
relationships will fail. So we all have to work on our ku and our hina. I certainly do. I know that for sure. Thank you for sharing that. That's really something. So I need to ask you, who have been your models of inspiration? Who are your heroes and why?
Hula has been such an important part of my life. So, I was about 17 or 18. I had stopped dancing hula because when you're an adolescent, you don't want to do dancing. You just want to do boys, and social stuff. So somewhere between 17 and 18, I actually walked into Auntie Mikey's studio and asked if I could join a class. And that action changed my life forever. It just changed my life. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't want to be a hula instructor, but my kumu, my teacher, said, I'm starting a class for instructors and I'd like you to come. And I went, me? I almost said no, but I've learned not to say no when an opportunity of another lifetime is presented to you. So it really has changed my life. But my one hero, I gotta say, has been my dad. My dad was probably the person who has had the most influence on me because A, he had so much integrity. He had so much integrity. B, he always treated girls equal to boys, always. And I never knew about that discrimination against women until I left home to go to college, because my dad always treated me the same. My dad was a very influential person in the sports world. So when I said, Dad, teach me how to throw a football, he said, okay. And he would hold me to the same standards. When I said, Dad, teach me how to box, he'd say, okay, go get the gloves. Never once said, girls don't do that. The only thing he said was, after I came back one day, I was in the 6th grade, and I said, whoa, Dad, I beat up John Grant. And he said, sit down. I'm glad you learned how to box, but sit down. I want you to talk about how to solve conflicts in a better way. And my dad became an influential person in the community, and I would watch him be calm and soothing like his mother. And so that's how I learned to be calm and soothing.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, you were so fortunate. Your father was amazing.
Yes.
So what do you hope to do for other women by being the successful mentor that you are, the example that you are to the women who are struggling with their challenge being in prison and doing time for their crime? What do you hope to do for them?
I hope to encourage them to see their own value and power. And in dance, we dance with our spirit. We dance with our intuition, called na'au in Hawaiian. I want them to trust that their na'au is powerful, can be healthy, can guide them. I want them to be able to see that they can be strong and not necessarily tough, but tough when they need to be. I want them to see that they can say both yes and no with the same degree of certainty and assertiveness. I want them to know that they can be good mothers, they can be good partners. It takes a lot of work, and that there are sisters around them who will support them. And that when they get out of prison or jail, we commit to being there for them. I have an outside halau. And when their inside hula sisters come out, we try really hard to wrap them with support if they allow us to.
That is wonderful. I know that when you are teaching in and out of your halau, you teach your students a chant, a particular one. Can you tell us about it? Because I'd really love to hear it.
Sure. Eho mai means grant us, inspire us. Eho mai is a chant that I ask the haumana or the students in the jail to chant before every hula class. I do not ask my outside halau to chant it, but I learned that the prison women need to come in and get centered. So Eho mai asks the powers that be, and whether that's God or the ocean or the forest or some other spiritual guide, it asks for guidance. It asks for inspiration. And that inspiration comes from our culture. It comes from the songs and the chants of our culture. But it also says, I'm not just going to give it to you. You have to work hard to see what these chants and these songs mean. You have to give it your own meaning. And that's how you get inspired. So that's how the prison women come into the dining room, now the halau, the hula school, and get centered. They get centered by chanting this as a group. We stand in a circle, they chant it as a group, and they get inspired. And then we move on to the class.
Let's take a listen to Eho mai, beautiful Hawaiian chant, and don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back with Kumu Malina. This is Tadia Rice on Womanosity for Women with Curiosity. Enjoy.
Eho mai ka ike mai luna mai e o nā mea huna no e au o nā mele. Eho mai, eho mai, eho mai e a eho mai ka ike mai luna mai e o nā mea huna no e au o nā mele. Eho mai, eho mai, eho mai e a eho mai ka ike mai luna mai e o nā mea huna no e au o nā mele. Eho mai, eho mai, eho mai e.
Womanosity is my favorite show on Woman Radio. Toddy interviews women around the world who are doing the heavy lifting and helping us learn from incredibly impressive and fearless female guests from every walk of life. Thanks, Tadia, for introducing me to remarkable women on Woman Radio. This is Ken Ostabo in Florida, and I'm listening.
Hey, Women Radio. My name's Parisa Fitzenley. I'm an actor, writer, and producer, and I love Women Radio. Women Radio is giving so much to women through its programming, and giving this opportunity to all of us is an incredible blessing. It's so important that women can come together, support each other, learn from each other, give to each other. Thanks for being with us.
This is Rohangiz from London in the UK, originally from Mauritius. I love Women Radio, and I'm so happy that this radio station brings women together from all over the world to support each other. I appreciate the talk shows, interviews, the live shows, and the global music. It's absolutely fantastic. I hope you're listening too.
This is Barbara Nussbaum in Cape Town, South Africa. I love Women Radio. I listen as often as I can. The music is wonderful and the guests are absolutely inspiring. I hope you're listening too.
Moshavi, my name is Kerishi Tendero from Namibia, and you are listening to Womana Radio.
Welcome back, everyone, to Womanosity for Women with Curiosity. This is Tadia Rice, your hostess on this journey around our world with remarkable women. I hope you enjoyed that beautiful chant, E Ho Mai, Hawaiian chant that our dear Kumu Malina has provided to us. So let's continue this amazing conversation with her. Malina, how would you describe the way you walk in the world?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. And I think the way I walk in the world today was not the way I walked in the world earlier. I like to think that I walk in the world as a Native Hawaiian woman who is a wife, mother, and grandmother, who is a cultural practitioner of 3 revered cultural practices, who once was a social worker.
Oh, that's fantastic. I don't think you walk. I think you hula, which is pretty amazing. So what would you tell your younger self about love, life, and purpose?
I would tell my younger self to take more risks. Yeah, I was a little cautious as a kid. And I would say, take more risks, travel the world more, let go more.
Oh, great advice. So what would you say is your biggest achievement to date?
Oh, do you know, I really think that my biggest achievement to date was not getting COVID. I am one of the few people I know, my husband and I, who have not gotten COVID. I am just stunned with all the people around me who have gotten COVID, how to live my life safely while wanting to do other things. It's been a great achievement.
Fortunately, you will remain healthy and have a great immune system, because that's what it's going to take. Malina, do you hear the music?
Yeah, what is it?
Oh my goodness, you know it is? You know what time it is?
I do not.
It's the Womanosity 25 question in 2 minutes speed round.
Oh my dear. Okay, yay. I'll give it a try.
Oh yes, I hear the clock ticking. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What color or flavor is your favorite M&M or candy?
Almond Joy.
Ah, mine too. I love it. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Dog, definitely.
Would you rather eat chocolate or watch your favorite TV show?
Watch my favorite TV show.
What's one city or country you've always dreamed of visiting?
Paris.
Are you a morning or night person?
I'm a night person.
What words do you live by?
No regrets.
Wonderful. Edith Piaf said it best. What's one vice you wish you could give up?
Procrastination.
Don't we all? What's the best compliment you've ever received?
When I was a ditzy freshman, not knowing what I was doing, a professor at the end of the year came up to me and said, "You are looking like a young woman now." And you know, for a ditzy freshman, that was really important. And I try and do that with other people too.
So how do you start your day?
With 2 cups of coffee, black.
Oh my. When are you most inspired?
when I'm with my grandkids.
Food, sweet or savory?
Savory.
What makes you smile the most, Malina?
My grandkids, particularly the youngest, who's just a kid.
I bet. What's the one thing people don't know about you?
Probably that I have a phobia against little geckos.
Really? And we have so many.
I know, it's awful.
You have to learn to love them. This is Hawaii. You got them.
Really fun.
Heels, flats, or sneakers?
Actually, rubber slippers, known in other parts of the world as flip-flops.
Aha. What's inspiring you in life right now?
I love the people in my life who love me, support me, and keep me moving forward in a really exciting way.
Oh, that's lovely. Malina, what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done in your life?
It's walking into a Lua program and being a Lua practitioner, which is fighting art Hawaiian style. I used to be a Lua practitioner at one time.
No way.
And it was really exciting.
You're dangerous. Oh my God. Lua is like Kung Fu and every other martial art.
Right.
You?
Yes, I don't say that very often.
Wow, I really didn't know that about you. And that is certainly adventurous. So how would you define yourself in 3 words?
I'm honest after my dad, curious, and I think I'm hard-headed.
Diamonds or pearls?
Rubies.
Rubies? Oh,
Rubies.
Hey, you're the first one to ever say that. That's really cool. What's something you notice about someone when you first meet them?
Their eyes, and if they're looking at me.
What's the one talent you wish you had?
I wish I could sing. I'm tone deaf, and yet I have to sing as a hula instructor.
I thought you chanted just fine. What's your favorite color?
I have 2, red and turquoise.
Okay, so Malina, what color of clothing do you wear the most?
Turquoise.
And what's the cutest thing on planet Earth? Oh, I know what you're going to say.
It's my grandkids, and it's usually the youngest one because they are just hysterically funny and cute.
What's the best thing that happened to you this year?
I think not getting COVID.
So I want to thank you so much, Kumu Malina Kaulukukui, for being with me today, sharing about ho'oponopono, sharing about hula, sharing about Hawaiian cultural practices that we all can benefit by using and knowing and respecting. So thank you again.
It's been an honor. And I want to thank you because now you're one of the inspiring people that pushes me forward in a loving way. And I appreciate that.
I appreciate you so much. You just have no idea. Thank you for being with me today on Womanosity for Women with Curiosity, broadcasting globally on Women Radio. Enjoy great interviews with remarkable women and music from around the world. Join me, won't you?